Howdy folks, Grok the DuckFarmer here, and it's time for part 2 of the mod spotlight on random things. Part 1 you can find in the description down below, and you can see all the bits and pieces there behind me that I used to show off that first part. Well, let's get cracking on to part 2. Now, one of the things that you will notice when playing around in a world with random things is that you will occasionally see these weird little spirit things that after you kill something, these guys will stick around and they will exist for about 10 seconds or so before they will disappear. Let's spawn a bunch of them. And there's no way to kill them. If you try to swing at them with a sword or anything like that, nothing's going to happen. But what you can do is use a splash potion of harming. That's what you're looking for. So let's go ahead and spawn a few and hit it with the potion. You hear that? There we go. That killed them because they only have half a heart, and you can see this drop. Those are ectoplasms, and that is what you're going to be using for a bunch of other crafts. Let's get this off my inventory. Don't need them. One of the first things maybe not one of the first things you'll want to do, but you can combine an ectoplasm with an oak or any sort of sapling that you've got, and we'll just slap that right there, hit it, and now it is a ectoplasm sapling. As you can see, this one here has grown. If you harvest this, you get a chance of getting some ectoplasm from the leaves as they break. It's it's not a super great chance, but it will work. And that may be one way. If you've got a decent amount of ectoplasm to begin with, that might be a way of actually farming it in the future to get more. Now, one of the things that you can do is you can use this to make it a Spectre Ingot, and this will generate one. Or if you don't mind spending a little bit more with the gold and lapis lazuli, then you can take 7 ectoplasm and get 9 ingots, which is a little bit better. So, if you've got the resources, that's the way to go. One of the first things you might want to make out of 2 ingots is the Spectre Sword, because with that you can hit the specters and kill them. So you don't have to make any of those more splash potions once you get that going. Now, there are a bunch of tools that you can make from it, and they all have a little bit extra reach with them. You can see it says +3 reach distance. So you can dig and mine and chop a little bit further, which is very handy. One of my favoriteest things here is to combine the ectoplasm with a bit of iron and make a Spectre Anchor. And if we just grab this guy real quick, the nice thing about that is you can combine that. I don't have a crafting grid here. Let's grab this out of here. You can combine that, and now this diamond sword says it is anchored, which means it has kind of a soul-bound effect. If you were to die, that sword or whatever you've got will remain with you, which is mighty, mighty nice. And another thing, you can make the stable ender pearl and these Spectre ingots, and that makes a Spectre key. So if you make one of these, and one of the first things I would do is anchor it. If you right-click this and hold it for a while, you'll transfer to a different dimension. And here we are in the Spectre dimension in my own little personal space. Now, I already came here and I grabbed myself a chest, but this is exactly one chunk right here. The inside is creative. The inside is 14 by 14, and the walls make it 16 by 16, so it's exactly within a chunk. But it's also fairly low ceiling. There's just the 2 blocks. That's all you've got. However, if you right-click this with a bunch of ectoplasm, I gave it an entire stack of ectoplasm, it's now 64 blocks higher. So if you want a one chunk area that is yours and yours alone, this is a way to do it. And let's get rid of the Spectre block because that's creative only, and then you just right click and hold to get back to where you were before. And there we are. Very, very handy to have. We'll get that out of my inventory. The other thing that's really handy to have is to go ahead and make this Spectre Lens. Now, if you happen to have a beacon here, and let's go ahead and grab these things. you can take this beacon and let's go ahead and turn it on. And we've got that nifty effect there. This will work only as long as we are in this area. But you take and you slap that Spectre Lens on top. As long as this is chunk loaded, you will have this effect everywhere in this dimension, which is super, super nice. And I'm going to put on the hat for a reason that I'll describe later. Anyway, so mighty handy to have this. Again, only works in this one dimension. Over here, we got a few more things that we can do with Spectre Coils, with the Ectoplasm. There is this Spectre Coil here that it's got this number, and it's random, whatever you get, but you can see it generates 128 RF per tick. And then these others are ones we can make. Now, this you find in some sort of chest someplace. Any place where there's a loot chest of some sort. So mine shafts, around mob spawners, in the stronghold, stuff like that, you have a chance of finding one of these Spectre Coils. And the really, really nice thing about that is it just generates power for you. Let me go ahead and slap it against this right here, and you can see there's the 128 RF per tick being generated, which is very, very handy. Now, you do want to have some sort of battery storage. It's really nice. This happens to be Ender IO. It doesn't really matter what. But you can sit there and make another beacon, another one of these Spectre lenses, and make this Spectre Energy Injector. Now I have that sitting on top of this, and it is getting power from the power that's here in this. And it's got a bunch of power already. Now, you can then transfer power from here elsewhere. And with that, you're looking at the Spectre Transfer Coil that does 1000 RF, or you can upgrade it to do 4000 RF, or you can upgrade it even further to do 20,000 RF. And I already grabbed some of those. So if we slap that on here, you can see this is now generating power, and it's coming out of here through that. And I love that bug. the greens and the reds look way more interesting that way. Anyway, that's going through that. And if we hit it with the redstone coil, it does 4K. And if we slap this guy on with the 20,000, it will do 20,000 RF per tick from here. So you can see I'm definitely pulling out far more power than I have internally. And this is going to eventually run out of power. That will run out of power because it has its own storage. Off the top of my head, I don't know exactly how much, but it has its own little buffer, and then these things will stop transferring. But it's a nice wireless way of transferring power. I love that. All right. Next, let's go take a look at these things here. Let's go to wearable items. Now, I was saying I was going to come back to the hood that I put on. That is the magic hood. And if we take a look at it, it's found in dungeon chests. Makes your nameplate invisible. So if you're playing on a PvP server, this is really handy because they can't see you coming. Also, it removes potion particles, which is a fantastic thing if you've got a beacon going on, because then you don't get those little fart bubbles running around. And that's why I have the hat on, because I don't really like them. All right, something that you can also craft that's wearable, or at least usable, is this Obsidian nether brick, a wither skull, and this gives you an Obsidian skull. And if you have this on you, it grants you immunity to fire damage, sort of. Not a huge amount of invulnerability, but some. Let's game mode 0. Walk over the fire. Taking no damage. Okay, there I took a bit of damage. That's just the way it goes here. Let's get that off. Yes. All right. Back to creative. And so that will... It's a nice way of avoiding some fire damage. You won't burn up all the time, as long as you have it in your inventory. Now, you can upgrade this here with the Obsidian Skull Ring, and you just combine it with a fire charge in an anvil, and that gives you the ring, which does the exact same thing, but if you've got baubles installed, you can now wear it in the ring slot. well, I don't have baubles installed in here, so it's not happening. This is another chest, and this is a special chest. These water walking boots can be found inside the ocean monuments. In the area where there's that block of gold, quite often in the back of the monuments, you'll find this chest here with the water walking boots and some other stuff. And the nice thing about these boots, if you put them on, they do what they say. You can now walk on water, which is very, very nice. And this works in in actual regular mode as opposed to creative. If you want to go into water, just shift down and in you go. So that is very, very handy to have. Now, you can also combine those with the Obsidian Skull or the Obsidian Skull Ring in an anvil, and you get the Obsidian water walking boots, which is the same thing as the Obsidian Skull and the water walking boots. So you get to walk on water and avoid fire damage at the same time. And it's, got to use the anvil to make that happen. Now, over here we have the Superlubricent Tincture, and it's just beans, water, and the seeds. You get some of those. You can combine them with stone, and that gives you the Superlubricent Stone. And the fun thing about that is items on there ignore friction. They just slide, and yes, you too. I'm not moving anything. You just slide and you'll slide right off. So that's very handy for mob farms, or if you want to move stuff around, you've got a dispenser or something that's pushing items out, it'll just keep going in that direction. Mighty handy. Now the Superlubricent Ice doesn't need any beans to make. You just need slime balls and ice and water buckets, and it does the exact same thing. Now you can combine that tincture with some iron boots to make Superlubricent boots, and then at this point you have no friction. I just barely pushed myself along, and I'm not doing anything, and I'll fall right off the edge. Yeah, you have no friction, which I'm not sure how useful that is, but it's there. You can also make this base plate and then combine that with a slime ball to get these bouncy plates. Now those are really, really fun. You see I've got that platform right up there. All right, I'm going to push forward. Boing, 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 boing. And I'm up to the top. That is a really, really fast way of bouncing up. You can go 5 blocks up. And as long as you're pushing forward, then you will keep going to the next block. The other thing that's really nice, there is no fall damage when you hit these bouncy plates. Now, of course, you continue to bounce. As soon as you leave, you'll take some damage there. And you don't have to use the lubricant blocks to make this happen. You can just push forward. But that's a very nice way to get up high quickly. Or if you make a drop shaft all the way to the bottom, you can go ahead and put this at the bottom. You'll just hit and bounce. And then if you have a too high exit and you just push forward, if you sneak right underneath there, you may take 0 damage, which I think is pretty cool. Now, another thing that you can find in a dungeon is a lava charm, which is not there. Hey, another thing you can find in a dungeon right there is a lava charm, and that's the only way to find it. And if you have the lava charm in your inventory, let's go back to survival, and you see that little above my hearts, there's that fire information there. That tells me that I have that fire protection on. And do I have the boots on? No, I don't have the boots on. Okay, yeah. See, I'm taking some fire damage, but this will also help with lava, but not a great amount. And you can see that I am taking some damage, but you saw how it was wearing away the charm. Now, if we combine that with the other, we take a little bit of damage, but not a whole bunch. It helps you some. It's not like having a massive potion of fire resistance where you take no damage whatsoever from fire, which I love. But you can sit there and combine your obsidian water walkers with the lava charm in an anvil to get the lava waders. And, there's the anvil again. So let's wander over here. And it combines all of these boots that we've been looking at. So, again, you can walk on water, and that works just fine. You can also come to the lava. Let's go back to... And I am safely walking over the lava, taking no damage whatsoever until I go in, because then that's dumb. But the protection... There. Cool, refreshing water. The protection works very, very nicely to prevent a lot of the damage. And it seems like this protects some, but the Obsidian Skull protects more of the fire damage, which is very nice. Oh, gotta go back to creative mode. Now, we already looked at beans. These are the group of items I call usables. So we've got beans you'll find in the world like this, and if you break them, you will get these several of these beans. Now, you can combine several of these beans with a gold nugget to make a lesser magic bean. And what will happen with them is they will just grow until they encounter a block. Or, in this case, they're going to grow up to build height. And the nice thing about this is a ladder. You can climb really fast going up and down, and it slows you down at the very last, which is very, very handy. So that's a way of generating a ladder really, really high, really quick, and then you just break the bottom, it's instantly gone. Now, you may find an occasional magic bean, which is really, really handy. If you find one of those in a treasure chest and you plant those, they will grow up, again, probably to build height, or if you have some block, like I have an invisible barrier block, they'll stop here. You break this and you will get random loot. So this is what I got from one of them that I broke, just beans and stuff, and a golden egg. Well, now the golden egg is really cool because if you grow that up, you will get a chicken, and he's been sitting here putting stuff into a chest. He lays gold ingots, which is mighty, mighty handy to have. So thank you, chicken. And now you can also combine some of these beans with wheat in a bowl, and you get bean stew, which unfortunately... Oh, I was going to say doesn't stack. It does stack. Oh, I love that. That is very nice. Anyway, so it's some food that is handy to have around. You can also sit there and make yourself, let's grab that, a blaze and steel. Well, now see, that's interesting. Let's grab these. I've got a regular flint and steel and a blaze and steel. And for fun, we're going to add a couple more villagers on here. So, if you take a regular flint and steel and you light something, the fire will spread, but the blaze and steel spreads faster. So let's go ahead and put this to the test. You, and let's see how fast this spreads. Oh yeah, that definitely looks like it's burning way faster on the right. Oh, that one actually went out already. Well, that's silly. Here, let's put him on fire. Sorry, guy. So it's a faster burning flint and steel, which, that's very handy. Oh, poor villager. That is taking like forever to burn. It will burn across, but like we saw, this is way faster. Ooh, it looks like it's a brighter flame too. And away they go. Oh, poor villagers, away they die. All right, other stuff here. This is the position filter, which is an interesting thing, just some dye and that. And the interesting thing about the position filter is you can set locations, which is useful for the golden compass. The golden compass, if we take a look at its information, can be combined with a position filter to make it point to the position of the filter. So if we grab this compass and we hold it, you can see it's just kind of randomly pointing anywhere. If I take this position filter, stand here on the blaze and right click here, that is the position. And now if I combine it, go away, in a crafting table, this is now bound to this position, and you can see it's pointing right here. And as I move around, it's pointing to that location. So that's a nice way to figure out where you want to go, especially if you're underground and you're running around. You say, okay, where was that exit? Okay, it's over that direction. Yay, let's go that direction. So very, very handy to do that. Now, another thing too is the ID card. If we make one of those, you can do the same thing with an emerald compass. And if we take a look at the information on this, you combine it with an ID card in a crafting table, just like we did with the golden compass. This now points to that player. And the ID card, you need to right-click on a player to stamp that. And now, as long as that player is online, you can sit there and have your compass, and you can say, where is my friend Frank? And it'll always point to Frank. But, you know, it's a single player world here, and so that makes it really hard for that to work. Ender buckets are loads of fun. I only need one because it will suck up a block of water as long as it is touching to it. So there's a source block up there, and if I right click here, I sucked it from way up there. Isn't that cool? And then you can right click again and it'll go away, which I think is super, super neat to have that, especially if you're caving and you want to get rid of those long water streams in caves. That's one way to do that. You can upgrade this to the reinforced ender bucket. And the cool thing about the reinforced ender bucket is it does 10, and as long as you just, if you just click it and click it again, see how it keeps sucking up more and more and more? Or you can shift click and it'll fill itself up with whatever is water connected to it. And that's pretty handy for clearing out water. The summoning pendulum, and I should have this in it should be in a chest, because this is a loot item that you find. It allows you to grab, you can grab entities before you fall out of the world, and then you can transport them around, and you have up to 5 of these entities that you can put in. So, all right, we'll put the chicken back up there. It's great for moving villagers. It's great for moving mobs. Works very nicely that way. This is the escape rope, which unfortunately is kind of impossible to demonstrate it here. If you are in a cave and you're deep down and you don't know the way out, you just right click and hold, and it will eventually find its way out for you. If we take a look at it, the information says, it takes you out. It takes some time because it's got to search its way out. 21 uses before it breaks. Really, really handy to have that if you do a lot of caving and you get lost like I do. This right here is the Ender Letter, which is something that only really is useful on a multiplayer server. You can sit there and put items and whatnot in there, and then you can say who you want it to go to. Grok, DuckFarmer. And this letter is now addressed to that person. And then you can send it off. However, I can't do that because, you know, single player again. However, you can make yourself a Ender mailbox, which if you receive a letter from somebody, the little flag will go up, and you can open up and pull out your messages that you have received, which is mighty handy. Something else you can find roaming around in the caves are these little glowing mushrooms that you can harvest. And the nice thing about these glowing mushrooms, you can use them 1-for-1 in any recipe that wants powdered glowstone. So they're very handy, especially if you haven't hit the end yet, not the end, but the nether yet. You can use that to get your glowstone. Very handy. This is the stable Ender Pearl, which is an interesting beast. If you come over here, well, let's take a look what it says. Right-clicking it will bind it to your player, to who you are, and then when you drop it, it'll teleport you to that position after 7-second delay, which you say, okay, so right-click, it's now me. I drop it here, and then I try to run away. Say I need to do a quick dive into something, and there's a bunch of mobs there. This pulls me back out of that pit, and hopefully I recovered whatever loot I had dropped before. That's kind of a cool technique. This over here uses that that stable Ender Pearl to make a Portkey. Let's go ahead and snag one of those. And the Portkey, if you've ever done anything with Harry Potter, you've read that, that is something that allows you to make an item that moves people around. So it says you set the target of the Portkey by right-clicking with it and then throw it on the ground and the enchantment disappears. The next person to touch that item will get teleported. So let's go ahead and put theirs, it's marked with that. And I'm going to, because I have this extra, oh no. I want to be over here. All right, let's click that there. I didn't realize I could shift it that easily. I thought it would stay. Anyway, I'm going to take this Portkey, combine it with a diamond, and you keep your diamond. But now I've got this Portkey that looks like a diamond. And if I had a sign here saying, "Do not steal my diamond," you can see the glint of magic is still on there, and now it's gone. If you had a sign here saying, "Do not steal my diamond," and somebody evil was coming along and said, "Oh, hey, look, free diamonds," and this will not despawn, they come running up, they touch it, it consumes it, sadly, but now they got moved away. And so you could set that up to send them into a jail or something like that. And, you know, sneaky people trying to raid your base and steal your stuff, they're stuck in jail. Serves them right. Shouldn't steal. You'll go to hell. Anyway, that's the second part of the random things. And there's a ton of this random stuff in it, and it's loads and loads of fun. I really appreciate the thought going into this this mod, and I hope you enjoy using it as much as I've enjoyed it. Anyway, this has been Grok the DuckFarmer here, showing off a little lost ingot there. Random things. Thanks for watching.